Welcome to RCS. I'm Dan.
I'm Nick.
Nick, you sound like you're far away.
I'm a little bit far away. I'm just right next door, Dan. I bought a farm next to you, and I am in Monterey. It's car week. We are back, and it's right now. Because nobody knows we record live, but it's Wednesday right now. But it's been a pretty adventurous week so far, and it is starting to heat up big time down here.
Nice. Well, we'll hear more about that in a second. As usual, we're brought to you by Avance, Carter Subaru, Drivers Club, Griot's Garage, the official car care sponsor of RCS. Get 10% off with our code RCS10. And we're brought to you by Haggerty, Rainier Beer, America's Automotive Trust, and Salvo Design. Which there's a lot of Haggerty down there right now.
Haggerty, yeah, there's a lot of Haggerty down here right now. A lot of I guess what we said started in the wind and now has become kind of, it's a known thing that Haggerty is buying Pebble Beach.
Or I saw it was, they're brought to you by, Pebble Beach is brought to you by Haggerty this year, and they bought the Amelia Island show, I heard. So they're kind of stomping all around down there.
Yeah.
They're owning the show circuit.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going down here. I think everybody's had a lot of time to talk, a lot of time to think. There's some shows that are popping up, not only some German car shows, but there's some rumors that there might be another Italian car show that might pop up down here, thanks to Pebble Beach. So We'll see. It has been wonderful down here, but it has been somewhat of a rumor mill. Everybody's sort of coming out of hiding. All the cars are coming out. Dan, you'll understand this. Anybody's been in Monterey, there's a bunch of new man garages that have been built around the airport. A lot of people are keeping cars here. I think every rely in the country is rolling in yesterday or today. It's been incredible. So
the connection cut out a little bit there. I think you said that all the car carriers are coming in today. You're seeing the flood of those.
Yeah, I think I said every reliable carrier in the country is probably here right now. So yeah, it's been a lot. So it's been good though. I just got done today, Dan. As you know. Unfortunately, Mr. Putnam didn't make it down here this week, but usually on Wednesdays we do a segment for Concourse called Connect to Cars, where we do a lovely breakfast and we interview a couple of big players from the automotive world, and then we do a wonderful drive. And I got a chance to once again interview a really good friend of ours, Wade Kawasaki from Coker Tires, and he just actually retired as the CEO. The CEO of SEMA. And then I got to talk to somebody we never talked to, is Lance Stander, who is the CEO of Super Performance. It's funny as it is, Dan. He's the second, the South African I've spoken to on this podcast, probably the last month. Wonderful story as far as how they got here, where a lot of the cars are still built over there. The coolest story that we kind of came up in our conversations, and it's one of those is he provided all the cars for Ford versus Ferrari. So kind of interesting. But it was a great morning. Unfortunately, because of my rental car situation and not driving down here, I wasn't able to go on the drive. But they went out to a wonderful winery out here in kind of a little bit north of Monterey, and had a wonderful time. But it was a good turnout. Had 15 cars, and it was a really good conversation. Wade and Lance we got into everything from why people are buying cars during COVID to electric cars. And then, as funny as it is, one of the gentlemen that was at the breakfast had just picked up his new Tesla Plaid and was taking people for rides. And unfortunately, I didn't get a ride, but I was watching people as they were falling out of the car when they got back because they couldn't stand. It was so fast. So that was kind of cool. Yeah. So it's been good. Like I said, we're working down here with Concorso. I brought Sarah down with me. And it's been a couple of really busy days getting used to kind of the new course and a little bit smaller event. And everybody misses you, Dan. Everybody, everybody wants to know, how's Dan's podcast, and where is Dan? So, and I told him, he's old McDonald. He bought a farm. So.
I wish I was down there. It's another scorcher this week. It's still 90 degrees here right now. It's 6:30 and it's 90 degrees, and it's going to be another 90 degrees tomorrow, 100 the next day. It's roasting here. At least I can water my plants.
Yeah, I got the heat warning for Saturday or something like that on my phone. That's pretty interesting. So, It's yeah. I mean, the car world is strong here. I will tell you that. Everybody is. I mean, there's. If you've never been to Monterey or know, like, I mean, if you're coming in from Salinas, you're basically on the approach to the Monterey private airport. I think most all Gulfstreams and Challengers are landing here right now. So
hasn't surprised me.
People are coming in town to buy cars and spend cars and drive.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Do you think it's busier this year, the same as usual, or less?
So did a whole new event down in Carmel on Tuesday, and I actually was down there doing a radio interview for Corso, and it wasn't basically the cars that were going to Pebble, but it was just incredible display. Acura had a bunch of their real, like their 24 Hours of Le Mans race cars there, and it was packed. They had basically check-ins at every street. I don't think they were doing the best job to make sure people were social distancing, but people were really down here out and about. And it's a known fact now that it is off limits down there. If you don't know, back in 2019, a bunch of YouTubers got together down there and they were doing drag races and burnouts in the middle of the street. And the California State Patrol has really cracked down on that. They're really watching what's going on, and it's going good. But it's a different atmosphere. I mean, I wouldn't say there's a lot of fear down here. Everybody is driving. I haven't seen our infamous white Mclaren F1 yet, but there was a ton of people down there.
I've seen photos. Our friends John and Paul and Alex from Drivers Club are all down there. I set up a route for them to take, which they did. And I know they made it down there, and so I know there's a lot of people down there. I've seen a lot of good pictures pop in. You know, Bugattis on the side, on the street parked, things like that, which is always cool to see. I do miss that. So yeah, I mean,
Carmel's always interesting because when you get outside of downtown Carmel, you get these little houses, and there's these tiny one-bedroom houses, and there's an F-50 sitting in the driveway, or there's a Bugatti because it's the only place you can rent. So. Sarah and I drove up to the Hyatt last night, and it was just starting to kick off. Ferrari just unloaded a bunch of the new XF90s, and basically it was just amazing so far. I mean, you know how that gets. The Hyatt is the kind of like local point for basically seeing all the cars in Monterey.
Yeah, that's the parking lot to go to if you're in town down there this week, and if you're listening to this, you'll want to go down there. I thought for our Carter Super Tip of the Week, so I was gone last week. Nice job on the show, by the way.
With Brandon Ben Powell.
With Brandon Ben Powell. Yeah. Hi, Brandon.
With Brandon Ben Powell, yeah.
So I was driving around Crater Lake before it got smoked in again. And by the way, if we'd done the Seamont this year, we would have had to do that again. It was completely smoked out east of the Cascades. Like you couldn't see the lake, that kind of smoke, which we've seen before. It kind of ruins the route. There was a bunch of fire closures. Obviously, I think it's the Dixie Fire is the biggest fire in California's history at this point, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a crazy story behind that, not car related, but if anybody's curious, it wasn't a lightning. There's a chain of arson going on in California, which is crazy. But anyway, the smoke was everywhere.
It's just what California needs right now is arson.
Right, exactly. Some professor too. Totally weird story. Anyway.
Great.
Yeah, right. So anyway, everything from. I mean, it's not smoky here right now, but it's not. It was for a short time, but everything south of basically Rainier all the way to California, east of the Cascades, is just smoke. So if you took the coast or you went to east or west of I-5, you were okay, but anything to the east, which is really the great roads to get down there, were smoked out and covered. You couldn't really go anywhere. Just fire camps and everything, the usual, unfortunately. But
we've seen it.
As I was driving around Crater Lake, we did a short morning hike before it was too bad, and then we decided to call it early and go back up to Hillsboro to visit family. And I came across a van broken down sort of on the side of the road. There wasn't a shoulder, but they'd blown a flat left rear, and they were kind of halfway in the road. And as we've talked about many times before, I always carry a maintenance. When I go on a road trip, especially in the truck where I have a lot of extra space, I have a pretty extensive set of tools with me. And especially for tire repair, because it's the most common thing I'm going to see on a multi-thousand-mile road trip is what if I get a nail in my tire? And I mean, I have a full-size spare. Best way to go. I always make sure that's good to go. But in this case, they didn't. They had a spare which was deflated and really old and never been checked. and they took a nail puncture to the inside of the left rear tire. Now, the thing is when a tire shop tells you you need a new tire and it's got 10,000 miles on it, it's not usually because they're lying to you. It's because of where the puncture happens on the wheel. In this case, it was right on that inside edge.
Repairable.
Yeah, not repairable. Yeah. And because that sidewall of your tire flexes a lot and turns, and it's kind of dangerous. Now, because their spare was deflated, and it was right on that line of tread right there, so it's technically past the line of repair for a tire shop. The tire had been wearing unevenly as well, so I told her she needed alignment, so that's another thing to check here as well. But I was able to plug the tire, because in that case, it was far enough in. I said, I can get you going. I filled their spare first thing, but it was only a 45-mile-an-hour spare, and they had a heavy load.
Donuts, yeah.
Yeah, they had family, 3 kids, equipment. They're under a heavy load, so it's really not ideal. So I took two tire plugs out, augered that thing out, and the only thing I didn't have is I didn't have any kind of lubricant with me. I had, which is weird because I actually just forgot to pack my Griot Speed Shine, which I almost always do for a road trip, but all I had was glass cleaner with me and interior cleaner. not like interior shine, like a leather shine, which would actually work in this case, but I just used some glass cleaner. So sprayed some of that on there, got it augered out, put in 2 tire plugs, and then pulled out my razor blade because I always carry that with me, and cut off the plugs on the inside of the tire, and they were good to go down the road. So,
aren't you just a savior?
The thing is those tire kits, you can get them from just about anywhere. A full, really extensive ARB kit is like $30, and that's one of the really nice ones. You can get these slime tire kits anywhere from Walmart. Take RCS 10, get a nice one from them at Griot's. But like I said, $10 will get you down the road in a case where you normally wouldn't be able to. And it's so cheap to have that kind of insurance. And we've talked about tire inflators before. The one I had with me was my little Vier one. That's I looked at the receipt. I bought that thing in 2009. And it's my little tiny one I just happened to have in the truck. And I don't know what other one, but yeah. So the whole investment was into that for $50. And that got them back down the road. And that takes up almost no space. I actually had the plug kit inside the air compressor case. So and that's a tiny compressor. It would take an hour to refill my tires if I had aired down the truck for off-roading. But for them, for one single tire on your average passenger vehicle, 10 minutes they were on the road again. And you don't even have to pull the tire. You just find the puncture, pull out the nail or whatever's in there, auger that thing out, put the plugs in, air it up, good to go. And they were back on the road in no time. So,
wow.
Yeah. It's really easy to do. Like I said, we've talked about it before as a tip of the week, but even those little, they're like tar encased rubber that you use the tire plugs are. I realized that I only had 4 left because I've used them on other people's cars before. I ordered a pack of 20, from Amazon for $5. So, and those are the slime ones. I mean, this is super cheap insurance. I have said it before, but I'm saying it again. You will use this stuff in the real world all the time. And maybe never on your own car. I've never actually had to do this on one of my own cars. I almost did on the Porsche, but I got it to the dealer before I got to have it patched. That was 2019 driving down to Monterey. I got a flat in the Porsche. With the center locks, that's especially not fun. We've talked about that before too.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to pull out a $500 expandable torque wrench. So, but in that case, if I would have had to, worst case scenario, I could have plugged it with one of those, even on a car like the Porsche, and it would have been fine to get me to the dealership. It would have got me down the road, and those things hold. They are a semi-permanent solution. Once those things get in there and they heat up, they kind of chemically bond with the rubber. Now, you can get kind of a weird uneven balance issue on some really high-end cars. It's not I wouldn't call it a permanent solution, but they will hold. I've had one in a tire once in the Audi, actually, my S4. I had a tire plug in that for 25,000 miles.
Jeez. Okay.
And I just never replaced it. My bad.
I mean, but just so we're clear, we're not supposed to do that. But
no, and it came with it in the car. When I got the tires, they had been plugged. I got the full set of those DSWs for $150 or $200 for 4, and they were takeoffs, and they had been plugged, and they had the original owners I got them from. I knew they told me up front I wasn't ripped off. They're like, it's got a plug in it, but they're at 95% except for this one plug, and I was like, okay, I'll just run it and I'll replace it if I have to, and have Blake shave it. Never happened. So,
I mean, they work. I mean, you're not supposed to use them that long, but it works.
Right.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I would put a disclaimer that you probably should not do that. But as I've said before, these things are a must-have, I consider, in any car, especially on a road trip. They're just such an easy solution when you're especially in the middle of nowhere. Where we were, by outside Crater Lake, no phone service. Nearest place to get service was like 10 miles away in a small town that had one service station / gas station / hotel, literally. It's kind of funny. So, I mean, yeah.
I've got a destruction story for you.
Okay.
Our good friend Yanni is down here. She's helping us.
Oh,
She's now part of the Concorso crew permanently. And Chris called in, her lovely husband, who's a CHP officer. Dan, did you know that ball joints are directional? Have you ever heard of that?
Directional ball joints?
They are directional ball joints. Now, Yanni and Chris found this out because they put I don't know, they put brand new ball joints in their truck and they went up into the mountains. And because these are directional and they went in the wrong way, they broke off, the tires sheared off, broke the brake line, jammed under the car, and they were stuck up there for 8 hours because AAA refused to come get them because they were a mile off the pavement. So apparently there are now ball joints out there that are directional, and you have to read the box. From what Chris said and was laughing while saying it, there's a very little small sticker that says these are directional, and they have to go in a certain way to work. And apparently he missed that. But it was a kind of interesting story to hear him kind of talk to me about it. And yeah, I will send some photos, but literally had the wheel not jammed under the car, under the truck, they probably would have slid off the road. It would have been much more damage. But yeah, and as you know, when you lose the front brakes like that, you lose all brakes. It's kind of
Yeah, okay. You took me a second to think about what you were talking about, and I see what you mean now. Yeah, so ball joints have a certain range of motion, and that range of motion is directional. Yeah, that makes sense. So they have to go in a certain way, and even though they look like they would go in every direction, because but they don't. They swing inward. Usually. If
you don't, they shear off.
Yeah, they swing inward a certain way, a certain limit. Like their range, they're motion limited. So if they don't reach that full length of motion, as in your suspension fully articulates down or up, and the ball joint can't, then it becomes a shear point. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks. Fun. This is the brand new 4Runner?
No, not on the brand new 4Runner. They're on that big truck they've got, that white truck they've had, the vintage one that they've restored. It has since been fixed because of this, but it took a long time to get it. Chris just said he missed the little sticker on the box and basically said that he broke one when he put it in, and he didn't quite understand why, and he put another one in, and that one they went up for a drive, and basically it sheared off, and literally like it's an extended cab truck that the wheel is jammed all the way almost to the back wheel because it came off. Nothing was really holding it there. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's good to know.
Well, that's definitely a catastrophic failure that could have been much worse.
Yeah, and I haven't mentioned this on the podcast, but Mr. Putnam just sent me this photo today. I'm decided to sell my KLR 650, and he sends me a photo from I-90 with 4 brand new bikes up there. He didn't buy any, but thanks for just tempting me with that. Jeez.
Yeah, it's that new CRF 450 RL, and I went.
That's a cool bike.
Yeah, it's a really nice bike, and I actually, after looking at it, and I love it. The nice thing about a Honda, compared to most bikes, is that you pretty much don't have to work on them. Honda motorcycles are much more reliable, but also you trade. Everything comes with a trade-off in the motorcycle world. Like, think of every performance motorcycle like a race car. Like, okay, if you want one thing, you're giving up another. So I think the CRF 450 is 288 pounds, which is pretty light, especially for a 450. That's and an enduro and a dual sport bike. That's very light. 288 pounds 10 years ago would have been featherweight. But the KTM 500 is 243 pounds. And so after doing my searching, and I preach this over and over again, what you pay for in a motorcycle is weight reduction or less weight. And even though the KTM does offer, the service intervals are more. I mean, it still only holds like 1.5 quarts of oil. So, I mean, changing the oil after every ride isn't that big of a deal, even if it's $15-20 a quart, which unfortunately it is. But that 40 pounds, that's enough to make me look the other way. So I'm back at looking at the Husky or the KTM, which are basically the same bike with mildly different tuning. So
one of the problems, and I still want the 450 very badly. It's just the double the price tag of what I have now. Is the lack of gas tank. You're getting barely 2 gallons, maybe 2.5 gallons. I mean, it's a really cool tank the Honda's got on that, but it's so thin. that it makes it tough. And and if you end up putting the extended tank on there, it really screws with the looks. But I don't know. I got to get rid of the KLR first. And it's funny because I have sold tons of stuff online, and it's easy to do. And I have gotten like literally 1,000 views on that bike, and nobody sent me a message. I should take that back. One guy wanted to trade me with a '67 Lincoln, but it was not something that was running or looked like a Lincoln. So, yeah,
that's kind of funny.
Yeah, you sent me that photo, and I'm like, oh God. So
yeah, the Honda needs a bigger tank. They all need a bigger tank. Yeah, I still think the KTM 690 is where you want to be. By the way, for you.
Yeah, the reason this is funny is because when I bought my KLR, and I love that bike, it's a great bike. Dan goes, yeah, you're going to keep that for less than a year. And I was like, no, I'm keeping it forever. Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Dan wins again.
200-pound weight advantage with the new bikes. So, yeah, that's, like you said, that gets to you real quick. Can you hear me?
Hello?
There we go.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to, well, I think probably the problem is more people are coming into the house and they're starting to like take up the Wi-Fi here. So, yeah.
Well, it's not just the Wi-Fi. This is something that's...
lost you.
No, I can hear you just fine. What I can hear you, one of the things we should tell people is if you go to Monterey, I think we've actually mentioned this a long time ago before, cell service is not going to be your friend down there. People, there's like that, Carmel is small, like really small. It's not a big town. And so the cell phone towers go from really good service to completely overloaded for the entire week. Like one tower down there that's now goes from serving like 15,000 people to 50,000 people. So, well,
yeah, and your phone can tell you have tons of LTE and bars, but you won't be able to dial out. It's funny you say that, Dan, because thanks to you actually, and Tom McDowell says this. We've got brand new Wi-Fi boosters with Concorso to help with our guests have better Wi-Fi and get better signal so they can get their photos out of the fabulous event we're going to put on. So
nice.
Thank you, Dan Putnam.
I wish I was there to help more. I've been so overwhelmed. I wish I really miss car weekend, car shows. I haven't been to many. I was actually just telling our friend Tina about that the other day. She was having another conversation with more people. That she brought up the Whale Tail Project guys, which we didn't get to go see, and she's working on bringing some other people up here.
When did that woman sleep?
I don't know.
Seriously, when does she sleep?
I don't know.
All I do is see her at events, and she's putting on events and bringing people into town. And I mean, she is a woman about town, and she's just so big in the car industry right now. It's amazing. So
it's kind of funny, like she's her friend Randy Popes. I don't say that in jest. Like she's friends with Randy Popes, right? So she's talking about having him come up to do motorcycle racing and hang out. And I'm like, wow, I wish I could like message Randy Popes, be like, hey, you want to come hang out? Like, I want to. He seems like a really nice guy. It was great to meet him.
I feel like we could message him after she introduced us to him. So I mean, you never know. Who knows?
We'll try. Anyway, let's take our first break. We're a little overdue for a break at 23 minutes in, so we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Grandpa, what do you call this thing again?
It's a 66 Ford Bronco.
I think you got ripped off.
Why is that, honey?
It's got no Wi-Fi, no USB port, no Bluetooth.
Exactly. I guess we'll just have to talk.
Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
Is that the window button?
It's called a window crank.
Cool. The faster I move it, the faster it goes down.
This moment of escape was created by Haggerty.
Being old is kind of cool, Grandpa.
Works for me.
For people who love cars.
And we're back, hopefully, with a better cell phone signal.
I hope so. It's getting tough down here. I will say, Dan, we got a new house this year, and I'm looking down this beautiful valley at all these other homes that are up on the hill. It's still really dry down here. We have you were talking earlier, we have no smoke down here at all. Like, minus the Monterey fog that comes in the morning, it's been absolutely gorgeous here. It's been 72, which is funny because you'd think California would be half on fire, which it is, and be hot, and Seattle would be nice and cool. So who knew?
Yeah, I'm jealous. Monterey's always like oddly and comfortably cool, and I miss that about it right now. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously as the week's ramping up, you've got Quail on Friday, you've got Concorso Italiano on Saturday, and then the infamous Pebble coming up on Sunday. And I wanted to say a quick shout out to a former guest and good friend of ours, Peter Gleason, who's going to have a car on the lawn this year. I told him I cannot wait to see it and eat a hot dog in the back. So, I mean, I think that's the place to do it at Pebble, right? Right. You just randomly hop in cars. They're totally open.
Something like that, yeah.
Are you going to do Dawn Patrol?
I love that. They just absolutely love that. I don't know if we are. I'm still out there looking for tickets. I mean, unfortunately, when we figured out that we were going to be here for this, the tickets for Pebble had already gone up to $500 a ticket.
Oh.
So I don't know. And with Dawn Patrol, even if you do Dawn Patrol, it's still $500 a ticket. So we may end up and go do the lawn up top that's free and hit some of the booths, the automotive booths, and kind of go around. But I don't know if I'm going to make it onto the field. That's kind of steep right now. So
yeah, well, maybe we can message somebody at Haggerty who happens to sponsor our show.
Well,
I'm not about asking for that favor.
It's going to be. No, yeah, it's going to be an incredible event. Like I said, I think there's. Speaking of our conversation earlier with Wade, I mean, so many people have been. I mean, we talked about Bring a Trailer a lot, and so many people have spent so much time on Bring a Trailer, and how great that website has made the automotive world, and how easy it is to sell a car on there. So I guess it's easy to buy a car on there. From what Wade says, it's not easy to list a car on there.
Right.
But all these cars are now showing up down here, and I will say I've never seen more Porsches in that crazy light blue like Kevin's got up there.
The Miami blue, or
I actually saw a Macan that really like light Smurf blue.
Oh yeah,
the Tina blue. So
yeah.
I mean, I've seen a ton of them down here. I don't know, and I think if you don't know, a lot of people order cars and take delivery in Monterey. It's kind of a thing. So. I will say, Dan, I was down in Carmel at our favorite T-shirt shop and picking up this year's T-shirt. And they wanted to know where the rest of us were. If you don't know, there's sort of a history about people with Fremont. We go down and there's a special shirt that is bought during Monterey, but they wanted to know where the rest of the crew was. Apparently, there's notes in our file that who we are. So who knew?
That's
keeping track of us.
That's the shop clubs, and it's the Robert Graham collection, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Graham does a special shirt just for Monterey Car Week or several, and this year it's just one. But it's fun to have. It's fun to be. It's kind of interesting when you're walking around and somebody else kind of has that love of cars. But it's been a lot of fun. We miss you down here. I'm telling you, it's always. I really wish we had been able to do a rally this year, but I think it was smart we didn't. But I miss having the family down here. I was telling Sarah we were walking around Carmel, and I was like, I don't see a ton of people. I think I've seen maybe one or two that I actually know from up the Pacific Northwest. But I think a lot of people are kind of still recollecting, and California was kind of on the edge if we were going to be able to do this or not. And I think the people of Carmel still don't like Car Week. I've heard several people say that. I think it will continue, but I don't know in what form. So
yeah, it's you should have brought the monkey with you. That's what you really needed down there.
In fact, I was talking to Sarah about that, and I said, what needs to happen is we need to bring the Triumphs and the monkeys down, because I think the monkeys, I have not seen one Grom or monkey down here, and I think it would be huge. I think people would love it. There's a ton of vintage motorcycles, obviously, down here right now.
Right.
Italian, especially the Ducatis and a lot of stuff like that, but I haven't seen a monkey yet, and it's funny. I really expected to see them. The closest person we had, we have a couple of friends that used to have Groms down here, but they got rid of them. So it's who knows? Maybe we need to do a monkey takeover of Monterey, a monkey Monterey trip.
I feel like the locals would be much more open to that. A lot less parking
right?
impact.
Parking. Yeah, as we found out on our first trip, you can put 7 monkeys in one parking space.
That's right. I'll tell you otherwise.
The front desk understands what you're saying. Yeah. So. It's tough, but yeah. I mean, how are things up there besides the heat? I mean, is it have you been out driving at all? Out in the weather?
Not too much. It's been a busy work week. Since I've got back, I haven't done a whole lot. But I did see a bunch of highlights from Mercer Island Cars and Coffee on Tuesday, which was a hit, as it always is. It's been more popular than ever lately. You get obviously a smaller show, but an unofficial one at that. But they do have some great cars, like some really nice stuff that's worth seeing. And then Exotics was canceled last weekend.
Is that every
Tuesday. Every Tuesday.
Okay,
yeah. New Seasons Market. Yeah. I think it's still New Seasons. Maybe it's Whole Foods now. No, I think it's New Seasons. Anyway.
I think it's still New Seasons, yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were going to get bought out by Amazon or something, but I think it's still New Seasons. Yeah, I think everything will eventually. And then Exotics was canceled last Saturday due to rain, which was a very welcome thing, actually. And then, which every weed I got rid of has now grown back in my yard. And I was like, thanks.
Water will do that.
Yeah. And then, but it should be back on this week, which, I mean, the volunteers down there had done, I think, 7 weekends in a row because it's been so dry of exotics. So God knows they needed the break. Same with Avance canceling the off-road section this month. The volunteers haven't had a single, I mean, it's been super dry and dusty, so it's pretty rough out there right now, but it'll be back next month. So good times.
Yeah. And I think, was it last weekend they had that, the car show in downtown Kirkland? I saw that Mr. Katz, who picked up his new Saleen twin turbo, was down there.
Yeah, another Saleen twin turbo, and he's driving his new 765 LT down to Monterey. He's on his way down there, or if he's not there already, I heard. So,
yeah, I think he usually takes place in the is it fuel run that comes up here. That's something that's kind of interesting. If you've ever been down here, you know there was always exotics on Broadway. The people that from Luxury for Play and Gold Rush would come do a rally from LA up. And they left on Broadway about in 2019, and they came at Seaside. And unfortunately, it didn't happen this year, so they're not going to do an event. But I think they're going to be back down on Cannery Row next year, which will be, if you've never seen that, that's incredible. I mean, they have sponsorships with names like Koenigsegg and Bugatti and Rimac and things like that. So it's going to be incredible. And I think a bunch of those are coming into town just for the fuel run drive coming up. So.
Yeah, if you haven't done Monterey Car Week, it needs to be a bucket list item for you. We've talked about that before. I think we said that every time we do. If you haven't done it before, you need to go down. You need to do Quail once. You need to do Pebble once, and it's going to cost you a fortune, and it'll be worth it.
You just say also, and Dan and I have said this before. If you're even thinking about going to Monterey Car Week, get online and get your hotels now. I don't mean like in a day or two. Get them now, not for this year. For next year.
Yeah, because they sell out usually within 6 months of the event, and there's not a lot around there. So, and you want to be as close.
And there will be some sticker shock.
Yeah.
There'll be sticker shock.
$300 this week. Yeah,
you're lucky if you can get $300 for Salinas. Yeah. But it's incredible. Yeah, but it's so cool. R&M is down here. The Meekham's auctioning cars off here at the Hyatt. It's going to be a good year. I think they're going to. I haven't seen. I know there's a couple of cars. I think there's a Mclaren F1 that's going to go across the block down here.
Ooh.
If I'm heard right, it was supposed to go like a year ago, I think, and I think it didn't. It's like a root beer color kind of thing like that. I've seen some photos. I may be wrong about that, or it may have sold privately, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to happen. I think that's going to be the big car of the year. As we know, in past years, one of the biggest cars of the years was a local Pacific Northwest 250 GTO. So that was, there's always one big car, with multiple big cars, but one that stands out between everything else. So.
Yeah, the 250 went for 41 or 43, right?
47, I think. But I mean, it broke the record for the most in a public sale. I think the private sale is still at 61 for that green one out of Oregon.
Yeah,
but who knows?
Yeah, I think
so much money.
I would guess a Mclaren F1 would probably go for, what do you think, 15, 20?
At least.
Yeah, in this market, maybe. I'm going to guess 20.
If you don't know, McLaren F1's Dan's favorite car, and it has caused us to do some research on it and of what it takes to actually own one of those cars. I thought it was expensive to own a Bugatti Veyron, but that is. But we were talking, Dan, like if you want to balance the tires, you got to basically rent out a racetrack,
correct,
and a race car driver.
Yeah,
and take the car out.
They balance them on the car, which I'm still not going to say is necessary in my opinion, but that's just me. But whatever. I'm not a McLaren tech, and that still
I'm sure McLaren would say there's some warranty issues that say it's necessary.
Yeah, do they warranty a 20-year-old car though? A 25-year-old car at this point? I mean,
if you still want the 20-year-old laptop to be able to run the car, yeah,
right.
Probably.
That's right. It's a proprietary laptop to run that.
Yeah, it's vintage, to say the least.
If you want to have some fun, look up the luggage carrier for McLaren F1 online. Look for photos of McLaren luggage storage compartment. It's pretty funny. Anyway, there's a little hidden compartment.
I'm going to try to get some photos of it, but there's some. I know there's going to be at least 2 to 3 Speedtails in town this week, and there's about 4 Sabers, the McLaren Saber. Which, if you don't know, was basically a one-off. It was only for the United States, and I don't know how many they made, but it's basically a rebodied Senna.
Yeah.
The underpinnings are a Senna, but it's a pretty cool-looking car. I think there's actually one coming up with the fuel run, so we'll see. I mean, it's funny because Sarah and I flew down Monday, and it was kind of quiet on Monday and yesterday, but today, like as you're sitting there at the golf course, you were hearing more and more loud exhaust coming into town, either coming down 101 or coming in 68 out of Salinas into Monterey and Carmel. So it's starting to pick up. You're starting to see these brightly colored cars hiding under these trees in people's houses. So unfortunately, I was saddled with a 2014 Fiat 500L that hasn't been washed probably since it was new. Like to the point where came with no washer fluid. So, it was a good start.
You know, the nice thing about a rental car though, you just drive it through the car wash because that's the only car you do that with.
Well, the funny thing was we washed the windshield and then we get back in the car and it was worse because there was a ton of the grime inside. Like Sarah and I probably washed the inside of the window like 3 times and I still can barely, like there's still a fog to it. So I don't know. Great car, but it's got 100,000 miles on it. It's kind of beat up. So that's when somebody asked me, are you coming on the drive today? And I was like, no, I'm good. I've never turned that down. So
well, there's lots of good little tiny streets to jump it. So have fun down in Carmel with that.
No. This is the 500L. This is the big 4-door. It looks like a bubble.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
This is a mom and dad car. It's huge. It's a huge Fiat, like everybody knows, right?
I don't know who that was designed for.
I can tell you who it was designed for, a family, because it's got a rear view mirror and then it's got one of those baby mirrors built in right above the rear view mirror so that you can see the whole back seat.
Yeah,
and it's factory.
I mean, most blind people don't drive those, so why would anybody buy something they have to look at? It's that ugly.
I mean, I get it. I get. I was hoping to get a Fiat 500, like a little 2-door sports, kind of a bar thing.
That would be fun down there because there's parking. As we've said, parking is so tight, so the smallest car you can get is really handy. Yeah.
Hey, Dan, you'll understand this. When we went down to Carmel on Tuesday, I only had to park 3 blocks away from the main street. So, I mean, that was pretty good.
That's
even though we got
really
there a little
good.
early. That's really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was quite interesting. So, I think it's going to turn out to be a good year. I think there's going to be some good photos. I've been running the social media for Concorso, so I'll hopefully be able to get some photos onto the Rain City Supercars site and maybe do a couple of live broadcasts for us if I can get cell service. And kind of show you what's going on, especially on Saturday when we do our event. And there's some rumors that we may be seeing a Dominic and an Andrew coming down to help me with cars. So we'll see.
Oh, nice.
Who knows?
Well, I was going to say upload some albums to RCS because the cars you see down in Monterey for Car Week is unlike anything else in the world. It's pretty awesome. So Yeah, well, again, everything down here is a little bit smaller right now. I don't know if Quail's going to be a little bit smaller, but I know Pebble's going to be a little bit. But I think we've scaled back a little bit our event just because, not because of necessarily of COVID, just because it makes sense to kind of have a more intimate Italian event. So it's going to be a lot of fun, though. Sweet. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with for photos, and you keep me updated.
I will.
See, we've got some events coming up here, of course. If you're not in Monterey for Car Week, we have the Avance Dyno Day at Carb Connection from 10 to 3 this weekend. I'm in town this weekend, and I don't have a lot going on, so I might go try and check that out. I'm hopefully going to try and do exotics and that, but I need a break from the house.
You should convince somebody in your house to go test the horsepower of their Audi. Just saying.
I was thinking of bringing the monkey.
Oh, yes. I mean, what do we think they are stock? Like maybe
6? 7? Yeah, probably at the wheel, probably like
maybe?
5. Yeah, kind of between 5 and 6 at the wheel, I think, at best. I'm really curious now. So
I have a phrase that someone told me today about measuring horsepower at the crank versus at the wheel. I literally can't say it on this podcast. I'll tell you after we're done, but it was rather saucy. It was kind of interesting. There was these 2 older gentlemen that were having a conversation about where you should actually test your horsepower. So, yeah.
Well, you messaged me
that
that
kind of a tease, but yeah.
And then if our listeners can message me, and I'll tell you what it is, depending on who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
No kids. Our Denver listeners, there's a shop tour at Rev Hard Motors from 11 to 3 this Saturday as well. So that'll be a good one. That's the 14th.
Yeah.
Next week, though, is a big deal, which I want to encourage more people to go to. That is Avance Ladies Night at Group 2 in Woodinville. So obviously you're in wine country, don't drink and drive, but it is a great event, and Group 2 is awesome. We've had them on the show. They're really fun people, and you know it's going to be a good time there. That's 6:30 to 8:30 the 19th. I wish I could go just to talk to people because, it'd actually be really fun. But anyway.
And I don't think they'd let us go to ladies' night.
No, I don't think they would either. But I really like the group that's. I know a lot of people that are going to that. Of course, Chrissy being from Avance, of course, and then several of our previous guests.
Well, and I mean, there's some rumors, and we have to confirm. But I'm pretty sure Chrissy's going to be on the show next week. So
that's right.
That'll be kind of fun.
Yep.
Now that she's a full Avance member, or a full Avance staff member, I should say.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I also want to remind everybody, and we're going to keep mind that we are officially been invited, and we'll have a booth at the Dirtfish Summerfest on September 12th. And we are going big for this one. We're going to have the monkeys in the booth. I'm working on a couple of maybe some Rain City supercars to maybe be with us. We're going to be giving away some swag. We're going to have swag to sell. We're going to have Grio's products there, and maybe even we'll get you. You can come by and say Brown and Ben Pal's name 3 or 4 times. And, see what happens.
Yeah, he's not like the Candy Man. When we say his name multiple times, the drinks just show up. So,
yeah,
win-win.
It's just like Beetlejuice, but a drink shows up. Yeah.
Anyway,
excellent.
Yeah, well, sounds like you're going to be as busy as ever. It was kind of I'm laughing because I remember when I told Sarah before she left, is like, you don't make plans for Car Week when you're working Car Week. If you're attending Car Week as a guest, or just as a spectator, and you're going to go to shows, then yes, you plan Car Week. If you're working Car Week, you just end up going every direction all day, every day, and you don't sleep a lot.
Yeah, it's sort of like you go, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the day, there'll be like an hour where you have nothing to do, and then things will pick up again. But the Concorso crew really knows how to run an event, so we're on top of it. So, but tomorrow is our big day. The tents are going up. The course is ours. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So,
are you guys Bayonet and Black Horse still?
We are Bayonet Black Horse. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got the court. In fact, there's going to be, if you're in the area and you're a Porsche person, check out we've rented out the golf course on Friday to the Porsche event. They're having a huge Porsche event there on Friday night. That's not us, but the golf course is going to be there. And then Saturday is our event, bright and early.
Sweet. All right. Well, hopefully you can get some updates up. Hopefully you have enough cell service. But thanks for taking the time tonight.
Yeah. Absolutely. Always great time. Can't wait to see everybody when I get back up there. We'll be sharing photos. And, for Rain City Supercars, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan. And don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.